Jason Frericks from Wilmot, South Dakota. I serve on the South Dakota Soybean Checkoff Board along with the United Soybean Board. We're located in Roberts County, South Dakota. We had a late start to planting this year with not only having been wet last fall, we had a significant amount of moisture this winter in terms of snow, and then a fair amount of spring rain. So it's certainly been a wet season. We were right around 3 weeks later getting in the field than usual, but we've had a great week so far. This planter that I run, we have 1,600 acres of soybeans in on our whole farm. We're approaching 2,000 acres of soybeans in the ground. We are somewhere around 70% of the corn in that we plan to get in this year at this point, and we'll wrap up the corn real soon. We will still have some prevent plant acres also that have just been too wet. The ground is really hard this year, maybe because of all the rain we had this spring. For whatever it is, and the various minimum tillage, vertical tillage tools, it just varies the tillage practices that we do just so we can air out the top and get into those fields and still place that seed into moisture and continue to welcome more sunshine and warmth so we can get that crop off and growing. But all in all, it's really been a good planting season other than being a little later, just a few more challenges along the way here, but we're very thankful what we have in the ground, and we'll have to manage those prevent plant areas that are just too wet, whether it's wet pockets in fields that we've planted or entire fields that we'll have to leave. We'll deal with those all summer in terms of putting a cover crop out there, radish, turnip, maybe perhaps some oats or other types of crops to grow to suppress the weeds, add to the soil health, and then prepare that ground for next year, because as a farmer, we're always looking to next year. Well, we started right around the middle of May with planting both corn and soybeans. We got some corn in the ground right away, and then just a few days later, we rolled on with the soybeans, and those fields were ready. And we've been applying the fertilizer before we plant the corn, but some of these fields were fertilized last fall, and so we've been pushing extra hard to make sure that those acres get planted with corn that do have that fertilizer already on the ground. As we plant the fields, we come back with the sprayer and put some pre-emergence herbicides on. We also are already applying some post-emergence herbicides because the weeds grow just as fast as the crop will grow. We project though that we will wrap up soybean planting here in that first week of June. So we have a brand new planter this year that we're using for the soybeans, and it's a 66 feet wide planter, 22 inches for each row, and the width between those rows, 36 rows. So it's not a high speed type of planter, but it has electronic in terms of running the meters to place the seed down the seed tube into the ground. We have air adjust on the row cleaners that ensure that it's a nice path for that row unit to come through and place the seed. And then it has hydraulic downforce coupled with air adjust on the closing wheels. And so it's really, it's all set up, and I can change all of those adjustments from the screen in the tractor cab. And that's just what's so amazing nowadays of what we can do. We can be going through the field, receive a report on how it's working, and make those adjustments and continue to move on. But it doesn't discount the fact you still have to get out and scratch down and make sure that seed is where you want it to be in terms of depth, and obviously just looking at the field conditions to make sure you don't have plugging due to all the mud and wetter conditions that we're in. But very, very pleased with the planter that we're utilizing this year. This is the first year also that we have tracks on the tractor that we're pulling the planter with, and so that's an added benefit to ensure that weight distribution and have as little a problem as possible in terms of placing that seed directly where we want it in the ground. Market has huge swings. It's very volatile right now in marketing. I've pretty well marketed everything in terms of my old crop soybeans. Those are all out of my control. For new crop, I still have yet to make any cash sales. I do manage a hedging account, and in that I have made some sales at times, and then I have at least made some protections there, some put options, things like that. But it's going to be time to market soon. I don't think in terms of my new crop product, especially now that we have this, we know where we're going to be roughly in terms of our planting acres. 2 weeks ago we weren't sure, so that's part of why I've held off on some of the marketing. Roughly about half of our soybeans are seed production, and so those are marketed in a different venue, but then the remaining bushels that we have will go to a terminal elevator, and most often they head to the Pacific Northwest for export.